All right, everybody. For those who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to It's Go Time. Now, before we get going, if I can ask you guys to stay off of this, raised up stage area. This way, nobody blocks the display and gives me a little bit of room to move around, do the whole hosting thing, right? Also, if I can ask you guys to not send me any text messages while I'm up here, I'd really appreciate that. Because listen, when you're up here and you're hosting and stuff, and all of a sudden you get this, big text message in your face, it's like hitting a wall, except it's a wall of text, and it can really throw you off. So if you could save any comments like that until the end, I'd really appreciate it. Really, the best way to reach us is by joining our Discord. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us if you need to. Also, you may have noticed in your lower left, there's that menu wheel there, that collection of circles, and at the very top of that is a microphone icon. When that microphone icon is clear, well, that means we can hear you and everything that's happening around your environment. I do mean everything. So I've gone ahead and I've turned it to red. And what this means is that if somebody comes into your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Don't worry, we're not going to hear that. All right. Also, if maybe you have a barking dog in the background, you're not going to face social ruin all over Altspace by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time. Ooh, messed up there. The other name. All right, but yeah, you get the idea. But just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice in your menu where you have that pink cheek smiley face, and when you click on it, your emoji panel will open up in the air before you, giving you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. Now, if, for example, I say something really deep, powerful, and meaningful up here, and you're really touched by it, it starts to build up. You can just let it out and let it flow just like that. Maybe I got some backup dancers, or maybe I got a shark on stage with me, and, they come out and they break into, It's Go Time, the musical, and you're very impressed. You can throw up the applause that I live for by going like that, right? Maybe I ask you guys a yes or no question. You could say yes by smiling like this, or you could say no by frowning like that, right? If I say or do something funny, you can show me you're laughing by doing this silly face emoji like that, right? And then there's this thing. This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis, and we're going to use this as kind of a signal. If my voice gets choppy, or maybe the moderators have had enough and they've seen It's Go Time one too many times and they set the stage on fire. It's been known to happen. It has happened before. It will likely happen again. You guys are going to need to let me know that. That's going to be like our bond. That's going to be our sacred pact, right? Now, it's a good idea. I mean, you can close this panel by pressing the X, but it's a good idea to keep it open during events like this because it gives me some feedback, lets me know how I'm doing. But more importantly, lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So if the person next to you is going like this, that means they find something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. And you can do that because this is VR. Except you can't stand right here because we agreed you wouldn't stand on the stage. That's our pact. That's our bond, people. All right. Now, some of you may be wondering why I've got this shark up here with me. Now, we have an event called It's Shark Time that's going to be on Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern. And, the last one during this, it's a game show where we give away prizes and kits and stuff like that. And at the last one, we had asked the question, about, how we could get my co-host Sharky to our other events. And the answers were pretty entertaining. So we thought it would be fun if for the next 2 weeks, if we just have, Sharky up here with me whenever I'm having one of my events. So we're bringing him around to all of our sets in this highly portable tank right there. And that's how we're going to do it from there on out. Now, Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful information that helps the Go community in Altspace. Because listen, there's a lot of Go users in Altspace, and there is still many arriving each and every day. And we like to help them out because listen, when you're on an Oculus Go in Altspace, there's some really difficult challenges you can face. And speaking of challenges, I've been in bed for about the past 2 years due to a medical condition. And, so when my Go was about to arrive, I was super excited. I couldn't wait to get this thing on. You guys remember that the first time you put on a headset, that feeling of being transported to another world, right? There's nothing like it. And when I'd been reading about Altspace for a while, and when I first came into Altspace, the very first thing I did when I stepped out of the load screen for the first time was I looked up. And, I looked at the sky, and that sky looked a lot like what I remember the sky looking like in the real world. And I was grateful for this. I was so grateful I started volunteering for Altspace pretty much right away. And I found when I started volunteering that I couldn't make it through an entire event because my battery would burn out right in the middle of the performance. And then I'd have to charge up. I'd have to come back in and try to track down the event host to explain why I flaked out. So I got off to a really rough start in here. And so I started asking questions. I started asking, how can I do to improve the performance of my device? How can I make it better? Right? And I was told some things. I learned some stuff, and and told me there was a huge disconnect between what people thought it was like being on an Oculus Go and what the reality of that experience actually was. Like I was told that this laser pointer here, I was told that I wouldn't be able to operate this on an Oculus Go. Right. I was also told that these slides behind me, I wouldn't be able to work these either on an Oculus Go, and both of those things turned out to not be true. I was also told that despite having a background presenting material like this in the real world, that my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events in Altspace. And you know what? That not only turned out to not be true, but I went on to become a very prolific Altspace event host. I've done over 400 events, and about half of them were done on an Oculus Go. Pretty well, I like to think too. And you can too. All you have to do is make a few small changes to your device that'll make it more reliable. And we're going to show you how to do that today. All right. Now, there's two routes you can take. You can work with the equipment you already have on your head. So before you even leave here today, you're going to have some tips on how to make the experience better. Also, you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And I say it like this because, listen, if you've been here before, you know I can't stand that term. You see it all over the Altspace Discord where people say the limitations of the device. They'll say inferior device. They'll say weaker device. And when you paid good money on your device, it doesn't feel good to hear terms like that. Not at all. And when you hear that stuff, it pays to keep in mind that there's another term that gets thrown around Altspace a lot, and that's communities. There's a lot of rich and diverse communities represented in Altspace. And listen, you are part of that, and not what kind of headset you're wearing, right? Your headset isn't you any more than you are your house or your car or anything like that. And as a matter of fact, the way I feel about the Oculus Go is kind of like I look at it like the way a person does feel about their first car, because it's kind of like, oh man, it just like you hear these terms and you got to remember, like, listen, if I came into Altspace on an Oculus Quest, which is what I'm on now, I wouldn't have stayed, right? Because on an Oculus Go, you don't have to worry about vertical movement, you don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allows you to get used to VR at your own pace, right? So so in that way, it is a really great device, and it's it's an affordable price point to enter VR and see whether or not you like it and if it's for you, right? So in that way, it's really, I think, done a lot of great things for the industry, but there are some problems. There really are, and let's address them. All right. The first thing you want to do is remember that your device is going to lose power even when it's not in use, right? And like for instance, it's when you put it down on a table at night, it's got 100% power. By morning, that percentage is going to be less. Now, if you come into Altspace with say 20% power on your headset, you're going to experience problems. Your screen's going to flicker around a lot. You're going to have a lot of issues like loading. Things will crash. Your screen will go dark. All that kind of stuff's going to happen. And so you're going to want to make sure that you come in on a full charge. So like if you go to altvr.com and you look at the event schedule and you say, oh, look, Go Time's on tonight. I've heard really good things about the host. He's got this flawless hair and he's got this jacket that you're starting to see everywhere, right? And you want to go check it out. You're going to want to make sure that you charge up your device an hour before the event starts, right? And in this way, you'll be coming in on 100% power and you're going to really have your best experience that way. Because your headset, it's always like it's looking for updates to apps. It's looking for updates to the firmware. It's always busy. It's always doing things in the background. Maybe it's got, a secret pal on the other side of the world, right? Maybe it's a whole secret relationship you don't know anything about, and, that could be devastating to find out something like that, right? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you charge up the device about an hour before your event starts, all right? And that'll help out an awful lot. Right. Another thing you want to do is when you first put your device on your head, right, the very first thing you should do as soon as you see the Oculus home screen, that middle power button that you press to turn your device on, you're going to want to press and hold that button down and don't let go. Right. And after about 3 or 4 seconds, you're going to see these 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you. And that middle button is going to say restart. Now, when you press that restart button, what's going to happen is your device is going to, kind of clean out all those temporary files that it was picking up while it was doing the other things, like while it was looking for app updates or firmware updates or working on the, pen pal letter to its secret friend there. All that stuff is going to clear out. So it's going to really put your headset in the best state. So you got 100% power, right? You've cleared your mind out there, and that's really, a good way to get going. And when you enter that load screen, you come out in Altspace, you may have noticed what an important role body language plays when you come into Altspace. You could say so much in here without saying a word. Like Handshot first walked in here and he waved at me from the audience, and I could see him waving, and he's like, hey, and now I'm saying hey back, and he didn't actually have to say a word, right? Likewise, if maybe somebody makes it up onto the stage and I go like this, right? That means get off my stage, right? But occasionally on an Oculus Go, what you're going to find is that your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be way up here. So now when I go to wave somebody off the stage, what you guys are really going to see in Altspace is my hand going like this, and it's going to look like I'm saying, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying get off my stage. It's a very dangerous place. Trained professional. Don't want you to get hurt up here. There's a shark up here and everything, right? It's very dangerous. All right, so, what's going to happen here is you're going to find that if this does happen to you and your real world hand is right here and it doesn't match where your avatar's hand is and you don't feel comfortable, right? Remember that on your control, you have your trackpad. Just below that, you have a button. And just below that, on the bottom, you have a button. Don't press it now, right? Because if you do, you got to think of that like an eject button. Because if you press that, you're going to disappear and I'm going to feel it, right? But if you look straight ahead and you press and hold down that bottom button, right? And this you can try now. And don't let go. You're going to see a white circle spin in the air in front of you, and your hand is going to snap right into place. And then take a good look at that hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? Now, if it is, then you're good. You're comfortable, right? But only you can determine what's comfortable for you, and it may take a few times to figure out what's going to, make you feel the best, right? So you go ahead and you press and you hold that button down. Don't let go. That white circle goes. The hand snaps into place. You take a good look at it, and you're like, yeah, that's where my hand is. I'm going to go with that for a while. And then it'll be a lot more comfortable, and your body language is going to be more convincing, and you're going to find that people are nicer to you almost right away. All right, now, another thing you're going to notice that happens every now and then is that menu wheel, that collection of circles on your lower left, right? Some people call it a radial menu, right? Some people call it your UI. What's going to happen is every now and then you're going to notice that it moves around. Like sometimes it'll move like right in front of you and make you feel a little bit off balance. Or even worse, sometimes it can go behind you and you won't see it at all. And somebody will be like, open your main menu. You just press that blue and white triangle. And you're going to be like, I don't see any blue and white triangle. There's nothing there. And they're going to be like, it's right there on your left. And you're like, I'm telling you, there's nothing there. Right? If that should happen to you, it's always good to remember that your main menu is in your hand at all times, right? Just below your trackpad is a button. That's the middle button there. When you press it, that's actually your main menu button. So if you press that, your main menu will open up in front of you, right? But if you're looking straight ahead when you do this and you press it again, when that menu closes, you're going to find that the collection of circles, that menu wheel, you're going to find that's back right where it belongs, right? So that's going to take care of that. If you lose your menu, that's a great way to get it back. All right, now, another thing that can happen is, all right, listen, what happened was when I first got, Altspace and I was running out of battery power all the time, right? One of the best pieces of advice, one of the first useful tips I ever got was somebody to turn down my brightness. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up to retina burning levels. It was painful, but my graphics were awesome. Or so I thought, right? What I started to do was when I put my headset on, right at the Oculus home screen there, right on the lower right where it said settings, I would go to the middle of that menu where it said brightness, and I would turn off the auto brightness and I would adjust it manually. There's this big blue bar where you can do that. And every time I came into Altspace, I would turn it down a little bit more and a little bit more until finally the brightness was completely off and I came into Altspace and I couldn't believe what I saw. I went to an event where I used to help out, and that event was held on an island, and there was a tree over in the corner, and all the moderators would gather there before the event started to catch up and trade stories and stuff. So I went over there, and as I'm walking up to it, I stopped, and I looked at that tree, and it was more realistic than I'd ever seen it before. The graphics had actually gotten better. All the way down, if you turn it all the way down, what you're going to find is not only you enjoy better graphics, right? Your device is going to perform better, but not only that, your battery is going to last longer. And at that point, I started making it through an entire event, and I found out people hung out after events, and I got to do that too. And then I learned that Oculus Go users don't have the best reputation in Altspace. And then I found out why. It's because the microphone on the Oculus Go is incredibly powerful. The sound comes out of your ear straps and it gets picked up by the microphone and projected out through your avatar into Altspace, right? And this has the effect of, let's say I'm hanging out in the world with this future queen here, right? And what happened was I'm talking, and all of a sudden I hear this, very engaging presenting voice coming from the side there, right? And I turn to see where it's coming from. And I see that Hummingbird's walking up to me, right? Except she sounds like me. I'm hearing everything I say come out of her avatar. And that's what it's like. You get this feedback thing going on. Fortunately, if this happens to you, it's really easy to fix. And you'll know it's happening to you because people will start coming up to you going, are you want to go? Are you want to go? And that can be like really off-putting when that happens, especially if you're new to VR, right? It kind of puts you on the spot. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to go. Why? That happened to me in the very beginning when I first came into Altspace. Turns out it's really easy to manage this. Well, you're going to notice on the top of your headset, you have two buttons on the left side. The leftmost button is the volume down button, and the right next to that is the volume up button. And when you press either of these vertical bars will appear in the air right in front of you. Some will be silent and some will be clear. And what you want to do is adjust these buttons so that you have 4 clear bars on the right-hand side. And this will put your volume at such a level so that the only sound coming out of your avatar is your own, right? Occasionally, you may still hear a family member come in and say, like, really the best way to solve this is to get a pair of headphones on or a pair of inexpensive earbuds. That's the route I took. And after that, the only voice coming out of your avatar is yours. And occasionally you'll hear a family member come in and say, hey, are you still on that thing? Well, you can fix that too. Just get them a headset, bring them into VR with you, right? And then they can see how great it is. It's really cool when you see like somebody in the real world in VR where you can recognize their body language. It's a pretty neat experience. All right, now, you can do that, and that helps out a lot. But listen, when I added on those earbuds, it got me thinking, What else can I add to my device that's going to make it more reliable? What's going to actually solve some of the problems that I was having in Altspace? How can I fix this? Right? And I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. Right? And I can show you guys how I did that. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to discuss these products behind me. Right? But it's important to know that these are not the only products that work. It's the ideas behind these products that matter. But if you do want to try any of these out, I know the temptation is going to be to write them down, but we made them super easy to find. All you have to do is go to allvr.com, and up on the upper left of that page, you're going to see a channels link. And if you press on that channels link, you're going to see all these wonderful Altspace event channels listed there. And down toward the bottom, I'm told that doesn't mean anything, you're going to see Ravenhall events, like it says in the sound booth up there. Now, when you click on that, you're going to get taken to our event page, and you're going to see all these products listed out on the left-hand side, make it easy to get to. You also see a join Discord button if you'd like to say hello, ask some questions, maybe help us put on events like this. That's where we organize our events. You also see on the upper right there the most important button on the internet, and that is the subscribe button. Now, that lets Altspace know that you enjoy our content. We don't get paid to do this at all. So every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel good. Makes us feel even better when you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are watching out on YouTube and you want to try on these products, you'll find them in the links in the description below. All right, now let's talk about what they are and what they do. All right, you're going to see at the very top here, you have the Anker Power Core battery pack. Now, Oculus says not to use their devices while they're plugged in. But they say we can use an external battery pack. So I figured this would solve my power issue if I got an external battery pack. But when I ordered it, I'd heard a lot of people were starting to have problems charging their devices. And the reason for this, I suspect, is because if you've ever noticed when you plug in your device, that port is very tight. And gradually, over time, all that wear and tear of the port going in, going out, it's going to wear it down so that it won't charge as effectively. So I found this middle device here, this middle product here, this is called a MagSafe cable. And one tip plugs into your headset, and the USB goes into the battery pack, and it's held in place by a magnetic connector. And this is a great safety feature, too, because if you turn your head and it pulls on that cord, instead of having your headset slide down and have your world turned upside down, it'll just pop right off. And you don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. You can just, pick it up and hold it next to your headset, and it'll kind of thunk into place. And if your microphone's open, people are going to hear that, and they're going to go, what was that? And you're going to be like, that was power. That's what that was. You don't have to say that. It's not going to make it work any differently. It's just something I like to do, and you can feel free to do that, too, if you like. But I started to notice when this happened, it did solve my power problem, but I had a new problem, and that was overheating. I started overheating all the time. Now, the faceplate that cools the Oculus Go is installed by hand, so people experience different results with it. Some people, they'll overheat every half hour. Some people, for me, I overheated every 20 minutes, and I actually knew somebody that overheated every 2 minutes. They kept on going. One of the first go times we ever had, somebody came to our event, and they said that the side of their Oculus Go had gotten all pushed in because it had melted. Now, I knew this was something we had to solve, and I'd heard some people were using ice packs and bags of frozen peas to bring down the temperature. That's not a good idea because that's going to create condensation, and water and electricity on your face is probably not a good mix to do. And listen, so what we found was a really safe way to do this. I know these people who tried this, they went through more than one headset, all right? But what we came up with seems to fix it, all right? And that's this AC Infinity mini fan. It's very small. It fits in the palm of your hand, and you make sure that silver part is facing the faceplate. And then you got to figure out how to attach it. Now, some people, like myself, I use those large hair bands to do it. I know people who have tried string. I've known people who use some double-sided tape. But once you get it on there, right, you're going to find that your overheating problems are in memory. All right, what I did was I went to that meditation event in Altspace to help out and moderate for them. And as soon as I went in there, I went up to the host, Jeremy, and I said, can you hear my fan? Right, and I felt like, if you've ever seen Star Trek, I felt like Borg. I had all these wires coming down. You actually do get used to that. But, I asked him, I said, can you hear my fan? He's like, not at all. And I'm like, that's great. So I turned it up to the middle setting. I said, how about now? And he goes, well, I can hear it a little bit, but it's not that bad, right? So then I turned it up to full blast, and he goes, you sound like you're lost at sea. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You're going to ruin my event. You need to stop it, right? So what I did was I turned it back down, and I never had to turn it up again because this is what happened. I went through that event, and 20 minutes came and 20 minutes went. I didn't overheat once. So I wanted to find out where the line was. So I went to another event, right? And at that event, I didn't overheat at all. And then I went to another event. It's 3 events in a row, and I didn't overheat once. So I went back to my home space. I hung out with some friends, and then it happened. For the very first time, I left Altspace because I wanted to, right? Not because I had to. I didn't leave because I was out of power. I didn't leave because, my screen had overheated and I've gone dark and I've all that stuff. I hadn't, I didn't have any problems, So then what happened was, I realized that, that now that my device was starting to work more reliably, and yours can too. All you have to do is make a few small changes, and none of this stuff is very expensive, okay? This bottom product here, this fan, this is only $10 or $11 US. This middle product, this MagSafe cable, is only about $7 US. And this top product here, the battery pack there, that's the most expensive thing up there. That's about $30 US, but it comes in different sizes. That battery pack lasts about 16 hours, but maybe you don't spend that long in VR. Maybe you're only going to spend a few hours a night, so you can get by with a smaller size battery, and save a little bit of money there. And this is going to solve a lot of the problems that you're going to have in Altspace, but there are still going to be some issues, and these are more like annoyances, and I can show you how to manage them. You're going to find in an Oculus Go that occasionally, when you go to move around, you're going to move in ways that you don't want to. Like if I go to turn left to say something to Hummingbird, but instead of turning left, I go straight, and I'm going to be like, well, that was weird. That's really odd. So then I'm going to go to turn to the right to say something to DEFCON, and there I'm going to find instead of turning right, I go straight again. Right. So then I press down on my controller to move backwards to back up. But instead of going backwards, I go straight again. So I start to panic and I start pushing all the buttons on the trackpad. But no matter what I do, I keep moving forward, right? And the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. There is nothing worse than standing inside of an admin. When I was in there, I saw things that kept me up at night. I saw the past. I saw the future of Altspace. There was flying cars and lasers. It was just, I can't discuss it. It was really, really bad. The future of Altspace, it was like, ugh. All right, so what happened was I learned how to manage this, all right? And the way you can do this is by resetting your trackpad, and it's super simple to do. All you have to do is take your thumb and swipe it without pressing down, very gently, because you got to remember your touchpad is responsible to moisture, heat, and of course touch, because it's a touchpad. If you glide your thumb from right to left or left to right, it doesn't matter, very gently without pushing down, and you do this a few times, go swipe, 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 and then come down in a direction that you want to move, you'll find you're going to be moving in the ways that you want to. Right. So if I go to turn left, but instead of turning left, I go straight, I'll go swipe, 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 and then I'll try to turn left again, and I'll be able to. All right. So if you find you have trouble moving around, that's a great way to take care of that. All right. Now, another thing you're going to notice happens to you every now and then is when you put your headset on, you're going to get a message that says, can't find controller. And you're going to be like, what's going on? Now, this can be because you need to replace the battery, but you put a fresh battery in there last night, right? So what are you going to do about that? Well, it turns out you don't even have to take your headset off to fix this. All you have to do is remember two words, double down. And what I mean by this is you're going to find that when you put your headset on, you get a message like can't find controller because, maybe, your controller found out about your headset's secret life and isn't happy about it and they're no longer speaking. All you have to do is double down on those two buttons just below the trackpad there. If you press and hold those buttons for about 3 or 4 seconds, a little white light's going to appear on the trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you won't see that little white light. But what you will see is as soon as you take your thumb off those buttons, you're going to see that you've got your hand back. And you're going to go into that load screen. You're going to be like, man, I am glad I went to Go Time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. And now I got to be on time for my event. And if that happens to you, you're welcome. All right. Now, another thing that can happen is every so often you're going to find that your screen goes dark in the middle of things. You're going to be in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden you won't be able to see. Your screen's going to go completely dark. You'll still be able to talk to your friends. If you have that microphone open there, you'll still be able to, hear them. And you just say, I'll be right back. And you press that bottom eject button on your controller to get out of Altspace and you press quit and you restart the app and that's going to take care of it. The best way to manage this is to get ahead of it before it even happens, right? So if, for example, I've just been to 3 Worlds and my friend says, hey, let's go to the campfire, I'm going to say, all right, I'll catch up with you. And then I'm going to press the eject button. I'm going to press quit. I'm going to restart the app and I'm going to come in before they even knew I was gone and then meet them at the campfire because that's going to clear out all the memory. And that's why that happens is because all these things inside this space, it takes up memory. My co-host Sharky here, the stage, this big red shiny button that we use at our end of our events, all this stuff, it takes up memory and it stays in your headset. So you may be back at the campfire and you're not even thinking about Go Time anymore, but your headset still is, right? So get ahead of this before it happens and that'll take care of that. All right, now let's see here. Now okay, there we go. All right, just make sure I lost my place there. All right, now I used to moderate for an event called Building Worlds in Altspace, right? And back then you'd hear an awful lot about how people thought that you couldn't build worlds on a go, and it's not true. It turns out you can build. These devices are capable of remarkable precision, and you can build all kinds of interesting worlds on an Oculus Go. But why do people get this impression? Well, people get this impression because like this laser pointer here, right? Now, when you first go into the world editor to work with it, right? And again, you have to have your world's beta program enabled by going to your main menu, going to settings, general, and you enable it there. But once you're building worlds, right? People will notice first time you grab an object, like I grabbed this laser pointer right here, you're going to notice, right, that it's moving around all wildly, right? And you're going to find that it's really hard to keep a level head in any reality, let alone a virtual one. So what you do is you go into your world editor, and on the bottom there's going to be a white checkbox that says lock rotation. When you press on lock rotation, it's going to change your building life forever. All you have to do now is when you grab an object, all you have to do is squeeze and release your trigger one time, and then that object, you'll be able to move it around with your hand to get it nice and level. right? And as soon as you get it level, you take a good look at it, and you're like, yeah, this is the way I want it. So you squeeze and release that trigger button one time again, and it'll kind of lock it into place, right? Now let's say you want to move it. Now you can just squeeze and hold that trigger. Now you'll be able to move the object up, down, left, and right, okay? And you can even by holding on to that trigger button, you can even take it and place it exactly where you want it. So let's say we put it now to the edge of the stage here, right? And you'll see it's hanging off the edge of the stage like that. And honestly, that's not really, it doesn't look very realistic. It's just hanging off the edge. If this is the real world, it would fall on the ground, right? And well, on an Oculus Go, you don't have to get it exactly perfect. Just get it close enough to where you want it. And then go into your world editor and look on that list on the left for the object. And you're going to see the laser pointer on that list, and there'll be a cogwheel next to it. Now, when you press on that cogwheel, it's going to open up a panel, and there'll be all these numbers on it. There'll be numbers for position. There'll be numbers for rotation. I'm being told my voice is choppy. All right, so everybody hang tight while I read the space. That'll help. All right, just going to clear my voice out here. There we go. Right back. Okay, that's not working. Weird. All right, everybody. Thanks for your patience there. Sometimes the voice can get a little bit choppy when you're doing this, and re-enter base seems to clear it up. All right, let's see here. So what can happen now is, let's get that pointer back here. Let's see, items. There we go. Laser pointer. There we go. All right, so let's say we place this pointer right over here like that, and that's once that's in place here, right? You're gonna find that once you open up the panel, and you're gonna have all these numbers on it for position, rotation, and all that stuff. If you change those numbers by small increments, that'll give you an idea of like what it does. So let's say the position value is X, and I change it to I change of X, and it's at a value of say 20, and I change it to 21. You're going to find that it jumps right over to here, right? And now I know anytime I raise that X number, it's going to move any object I raise that X number to over to that wall. That must mean if I lower it down to like 19, it's going to move in the direction of that window, and then I can place another object. All right, and I'll get more of a feel for it, and then another one, and then another one, and before you know it, I'm gonna have built a world where I can have my events, where I can hang out with my friends, or maybe just enjoy all by myself, right? So that's a great way to build worlds in Altspace on an Oculus Go, and they are capable of remarkable precision. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to open up for questions and comments now, and the way we're going to do this is you're going to notice on your lower right, a raise hand button is going to appear as if by magic. So if you have any questions or comments, just press that raise hand button, and what you'll find there is, we'll get you on my list, and we'll call on you there. And listen, if you're on Twitter and you'd like to join us on Twitter, you can find us at __ Uncanny Valley. I know that looks like one underscore, but it is actually two. All right, let's see here. We have somebody on the list already. Let's see, who do we have? We have Steve. Steve, you're on the air. What's going on? What's happening, Steve?
I'm experiencing some real degradation on my Go, and I think it's because I've been accepting every upgrade that's come up when I enter Altspace. Like when I get into a lot of, it started about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, when I'd enter a site that had, say, more than 7 people, that was a fairly complicated site. I'd get into this tunnel vision mode where when I'm entering, it's kind of like not fully rendered around me and really jerky, and then it either freezes up and resets the whole Go, or I have to hold the button and do a power reset because I'm getting nowhere.
Well, I have heard that some Go users have been having more problems. Now, you don't really have a choice but to accept those updates from Altspace, because what will happen is you may be able to get in, but you may not be able to see everybody, right? Or they won't be able to see you. Right? So pretty much, they work on the app while we're still in here, and that can give rise to some pretty interesting problems. So let's hopefully, they'll come up with another patch or another update that makes it more reliable. In the meantime, the best thing you can do is keep that device cool with the fan, as I suggested, and also, keep it fully charged. All right, because if you have 100% power,
do.
All right, good.
Yeah, I have been, and I've got a really big heatsink on that works really well, covers the whole faceplate.
Nice.
But has anybody else had that experience? Especially today, I came in and I took another update just a couple hours ago, and I went to Marshmallow's site. Nobody was there, and I've been there a lot of times, and I couldn't get in. And I couldn't get into the one for Unity's, VR development. I couldn't enter that site, but I can enter
Well,
the camp.
a lot of times you got to keep in mind that some worlds that are in Altspace, right, are not, built in hyper performant ways. So they may build a world with a PC and it works fine on the PC, right? But they may find that mobile users have a tough time getting in. Or you may build a world that's friendly towards Quest, and then all of a sudden, you find Go users can't get into it. Now, really, it's good when world builders actually test them across devices, but you can't always do that. Spaces like the campfire are the ones that Altspace manages. Also, the ones like this event space that you're in now, this is one of the templates that Altspace makes available. Those are going to work a lot more reliably than the user-built custom stuff. So you're going to find that performance may vary when you go into other types of worlds and experiences. All right.
So
it's kind
in
of
Unity, when I render for Android, I'm actually not sure if it's going to be different on a Quest than on a Go.
Well, when you render for Android, that is actually the Go. The Go actually has like an Android type phone inside the faceplate, right? So when you build in Unity, if you build for PC and you build for mobile, you build for Android, right? You're actually doing two completely different builds, even though we'll all be seeing basically the same thing. But all that stuff is going to impact performance. So depending on what kind of textures you use or what kind of materials, that's going to affect the FPS of inside of your space, and that can actually bring performance a lot.
What about Quest? Is Quest the same thing? Is it also
Quest is also Quest is also Android based. All right, so when you build for Android, you're building for both the Quest and the Go. But the thing is that the Quest has more RAM available in it, and it's going to run a little bit better. It has a better processor, and it has more RAM available to it. And that one thing you can do that can really help is if you have other apps on your Go, if you uninstall some of them even temporarily, see if that doesn't increase your performance, right? Because it'll free up more memory to be available for the program to use while it's running. All right, so that might help things there if you try that. All right, so now what we are going to do now is we are going to press this button on the wall next to me here on my left, and this is going to take us out to Ravenhall Flight Academy. If you have any more questions or comments, we'll take them there. And what we do there is we teach you guys how to fly if you've never flown in Altspace before. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to press this button here, and when I press it, you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon fly down the street, over those trees, and down in that backyard area there. Let's press this and watch what happens. Just direct your attention out the window.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
Okay, there it is. Now you can actually fly this if you like. So why don't you come out in the back and join me out back here, and we'll meet it as it comes in, right? And you can fly those and give that a try at the Ravenhall Flight Academy. So if you come join me there, you're going to see the ship coming in right now as it lands. It gets pretty low, but it hasn't hit anybody yet. So give that a try as it comes in. All right, here it is. It's almost ready. There we are.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. You've been a great audience. I'll see you next time.